today because it's going to be a little bit of a long night, but you'll see it's actually some very fascinating stories, some just absolutely beautiful photographs that people have been able to go out. This is the first time we are trying this April Bring Your Own Photos night. I just wanted to change it a little bit. And spring is a just absolutely beautiful time in the Bay Area. So we thought, how about we ask people to go shoot within the first 3 months of the year and see what you get. And it's a nice way to show what happens in the spring in the Bay Area. And as you'll see from the photographs today, we do have some absolutely stunning collection. So thank you everyone who went out, took pictures, and shared. I also wanted to just bring attention to this. I have not done it myself, but I'm really excited to participate. If people have ideas, please let me know. There is a birdathon that is currently ongoing, March 27th to May 7th. A lot more details are there actually on this website, so please take a look. If you can form a team or sponsor a team, there are possibilities here. And this actually does really help the Santa Clara Valley Audubon Society, who in fact is actually our sponsor here as well. So thank you very much for that. And with that, let's see how this April show goes of Bring Your Own Photos. If this is successful, like our September show, then we might continue going with this format in the next year as well. But let's see how you all think about this. We have our first presenter, Leah. I saw you online. So if you don't mind, please unmute and let me know when you're ready to start your show. Leah?
Leah, you just muted yourself.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Yep. All right.
Okay. These were all taken on a trip that I made in February to Mexico, to the Sierra, it was to the road that goes from Mazatlan to Durango. And this first photograph is of a tufted jay. And the tufted jay is very, very limited as to where it lives, and lives in a very small area. So they've made a preserve out of it. And we had a local guy come in and show us. We walked way in and found a flock. And just like any jay, they're kind of squawky and loud, but they're very pretty. We saw a whole flock of them. Okay, next. And in that same preserve that is called the Charapinta Preserve, we saw the red-headed tanager, which is also endemic, as is the jay. The red-headed tanager is endemic to Mexico, to the Sierra Madre. Okay, next. And this bird is not endemic. It's a black-headed vireo, and it goes as far as I think breeds in Texas, but I thought it was very pretty, and hopefully maybe I'll be able to see it sometime in Texas. Next. And another endemic to that part of Western Mexico is the citrulline trogon. And we were all standing there, and this bird just flew in and sat as big as you please, fairly close to us. They're not flighty. They don't fly away as soon as you move or point a camera at them. He's also endemic to this area of Western Mexico. Next. And this is a brown-backed solitaire, which is that we heard them a lot. They have a beautiful, beautiful song that kind of goes down, trills down. And we heard him, and then I finally got a picture of him. But later on, I read that a lot of them are used as cage birds because they have such a beautiful song. Next. And this is another endemic. This is a Colima pygmy owl. And I wouldn't be able to tell it from our regular northern pygmy owl. It looks very, very similar to it. But we saw two of them. And we also saw two ferruginous pygmy owls on this trip. And they're fairly easy to see, and they just kind of sit there. And we got pictures that way. Next. And then we went down to the coast for a while and rode in boats up the San Cristobal River and on the Tavara River. And I would not have seen this is the northern Putu, and I definitely would not have been able to see it if it hadn't been pointed out, because the way they make themselves invisible is they just point their heads up, and they just blend right into the tree. That they just look like part of the stick of the tree. It's also interesting that they lay their eggs right directly in the tree. They don't have a nest. And I suppose that they must lay them in a place like a crotch, like you see in that picture. But this was taken during the day. And then next photo. And then we did the same boat ride at night. And this is also the northern Putu. And I thought it was kind of interesting that he has a huge mouth, because he flies at night and catches moths and things that are flying. So he's got this huge gape of a mouth, kind of like a swallow's. And then he's got huge eyes that, relative to the size of his head, are really, really big. So the guide simply pointed the light up and found this northern Putu there. Next. And this is a boat-billed heron. And I read in the book that they're supposed to eat crustaceans and fish, and I have no idea. Maybe somebody else has an idea how I managed to eat fish and crustaceans with that huge beak. But you can see he's got very big claws also. His feet are quite large. So I have no idea how, to me, it's just a puzzle how he manages to catch food. But anyway, that's what he looks like. Next, please. And the last one is, that's a snail kite. And we were close, we were in a swamp close to the ocean. And there was a lot of vegetation floating on the swamp. And apparently the snails are on the vegetation. And so they have this beak that they go on and catch the snails with that beak. So those are my photographs.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Bob?
Okay, Sri.
Yep.
I took a trip in February with my friend Peter Havelishan to Jamaica and Puerto Rico. And this was my #1 target. It's the Puerto Rican tanager, and it's a monotypic bird. It's in its own family. And I've been collecting families of birds, and I needed this one. Next slide. This is Adelaide's warbler. These first pictures are all in Puerto Rico. This is endemic to Puerto Rico. It's in the same family as a lot of our northern warblers, the Setophaga genus. And locally, they call it the little queen. Next. One of the hummingbirds of Puerto Rico. This is endemic to the Lesser Antilles, the little islands that hang down from Puerto Rico. And Puerto Rico is called the green-throated carib. Next. There's Puerto Rican woodpecker. I was showing this one because it's one of the Melanerpes woodpeckers. Melanerpes is also Lewis's woodpecker. So it's in that same genus, and it's endemic to Puerto Rico. Each of the Greater Antilles, the big islands, have their own member of Melanerpes, and this is the Puerto Rican one. Next one. These are one of my favorite group of birds in the Caribbean. It's a toady, the Puerto Rican toady. There are a total of 5 toadies in the world. This one's endemic to Puerto Rico, and then there's one endemic to most of the Big Islands. And so if we go to the next slide, we'll see the Jamaican toady. So the next slides are from Jamaica. So the Jamaican toady has a little bit of blue on the flanks and a little pink, whereas the previous slide is more yellow on the flanks. But if they were both on the same island, I'd be hard pressed to tell them apart. It's a small bird and distantly related to kingfishers and motmots. Next. This is called a spindalis, or also a stripe-headed tanager. There are 4 members of this family, and each one again on a different island. This is the Jamaican spindalis. They're related to the Puerto Rican tanager, but distantly. Next. We had to work for this one, but eventually we got some pretty decent pictures. It's the crested quail dove, and there are a number of quail doves in the Caribbean, several in Cuba. This is endemic to Jamaica, and it really hides in the trees and on the ground, but this one popped out. Crested quail dove. Next. This was my probably favorite bird in Jamaica. It's called the red-billed streamer tail. It's the national bird together with the next one that we'll see. And it and the black-billed streamer tail are almost the only examples of speciation happening on an island smaller than Madagascar. So it's really a novelty. This bird is on most of the island of Jamaica. And then the next slide shows the black-billed streamer tail, and it's only found on the very, very eastern corner of Jamaica. And again, they're endemic to the island, and that's it, Sri.
Thank you so much. This is a wonderful. Phil.
Hi, I'm Phil Lindsay, and I'm going to show you some shots that I took in Southern California. So if I could have my first shot.
Yeah.
This is a elephant seal with a bird investigating what's going on. Our trip started actually in October down in Pismo Beach, and we encountered an incredible collection of pelicans nesting in the cliffs. And the hotel had built an observation deck along the edge of this cliff, so we were able to photograph pelicans with a 30-millimeter lens. It was incredible. We came back January of this year to the same place, only to find that the pelicans had moved south. So Plan B took us to the elephant seal rookery up by Hearst Castle. And this rookery is a chaotic collection of young pups, mothers feeding the pups, and a few elephant seal males trying to extend the mating season. Another key factor are the presence of seagulls, because the nursing process creates a lot of mess, and the gulls go in and clean up the mess that the pup left. And our guide was incredibly impressed by the presence of this egret, because she had never seen an egret in this collection. And we're hoping that the egrets are going to start competing with the seagulls and become part of the rookery. I would like you to take the next 10 slides and just look at them every 2 seconds or so. I won't comment, and that'll end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
It's a rich milk. Tom, it's a very rich milk. You didn't.
Beautiful.
They've always got their mouth open for something.
Rich milk. Incredibly nice fat.
That's a male on the left. Has an elephant head.
It needs to go quicker.
A chorus. The rookery is located below a cliff, and so there's very good observation.
Oh,
The dad.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
Alrighty,
Phil.
thank you.
Appreciate that. If you don't mind, actually, I'm just going to get off this mode for a second because I'm not able to move the cursor. And I don't know if you are able to see this. Are you all able to see the full screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, thank you then. Arjun, are you here? Arjun? Okay. Well, I'm going to move on to the next one. Judy?
There we go. Unmuted.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi. So most of my birds are local. Well, they're all from California for sure. So let's see the first one. So this was a little Savannah sparrow. We were over, it's the creek. It was in the East Bay and it had flooded, but this little bird was singing away. They're just really small and cute. So Savannah sparrow, okay. Move on. And then some of these were taken at Shoreline Park, so I'm sure you've seen these surf scoters. So it had dived down and gotten this clam and was doing something with it, making a big splash. So I think surf scoters, their coloring is so unusual. I just think they're very interesting. Okay, this is a least sandpiper. The water at Shoreline was down for a part of the January, February, and this little guy was walking along among the clamshells, a least sandpiper with the yellow legs. Okay, next. And if you go to Shoreline out by the slough, you always see mockingbirds. And at this point, this was, I don't know, a few months ago, February maybe, the pyracantha berries were all out. And so the mockingbird was taking advantage of these berries. The birds love them. So mockingbird, northern mockingbird. Okay, next one. So you remember we had some really big winds. And so out at Shoreline, there were some snow geese. I've never seen snow geese. I went all the way to New Mexico last year to see them. And so there was a snow geese right out in the field with all the Canada geese. And it moved to Bixby Park, and I don't think it's there anymore. I think they finally, there were about 4 or 5, and I think they finally caught up with their flock to head north. But first time I'd seen snow geese at Shoreline. Okay, next. And these, you know, are around all winter. These are the yellow rumped warblers. It takes a little doing to get a picture of them because they don't stay landed very long, but they do come back. They're flycatchers. And so this one you can see both the yellow breast and the yellow rump. And then it was windy, so the little feathers on his head are blowing. So I thought it was kind of cute. Okay, next. And then maybe some of you had a chance to go to Los Gatos Creek where there was one mute swan. So they're not usually seen. So it may be another bird that got off course and was having a great time. swimming around one of the lakes along Los Gatos Creek. So I thought I would include him because it was just so unusual. We don't usually see any swans, so that was pretty cool. Next slide. And then egrets, it didn't have a nest in the tree, but they do. This is the great egret. It was just on top of a tree at shoreline, looking out with a few clouds behind it. So it's just so unusual to see these long-legged birds up in a tree. Like, no, they don't belong up there, but that's where this one was, a great egret. Okay, next. And then I did go to Merced National Wildlife Refuge in the Central Valley on the three sunny days we had at the beginning of March, and I stayed in Las Banas. And this is a composite, so it's the same bird. So I managed to get it with the eyes sharp, and they are beautiful flyers, and it was just really fun to see them. So this is the sandhill crane. It's a composite I put together. Okay, next one. And then when they land, you know, they're zooming along, and then they have to come in for a landing. So this one is slowing down and putting his legs down, and you can see the snow, which was on the mountains between Santa Clara Valley and Silicon Valley. And so the snow was on the mountains at that time, and here it's coming in for a landing. Okay, I think, is that the last one? Yeah, yep. Great.
Beautiful.
So those are they're all California birds.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Vivek?
Yes, sir. So, you know, we're going to travel as far away from California as possible. My birds are all from India. I was there in February of this year on a business trip, and I took some time off to go birding near Bangalore. So these birds are from South India and mostly from Bangalore and a nearby town called Mysore. So let's go. So this is a great Thickney. This is photographed at a bird sanctuary called Rangantittu, which is north of Mysore. And this is one of the only places where this bird can be photographed well. And I was very lucky. We were on a boat when we photographed this bird. This is one of the Thickneys of the old world. All Thickneys, you know, there are many Thickneys in the old world. This is one of them. This is the biggest one. Next. We normally see the peacocks, or as they're called, the Indian peafowl, you know, usually not flying, but I got this opportunity to photograph this bird in flight. It flew from one tree to another, and I just happened to have my camera pointed in that direction because it was a quick shot. So I liked this particular one out of the burst. And the funny thing is, you don't see the blue feathers that you normally see, the long blue feathers on the peafowl, but it was a fun experience. Again, also photographed at Rangantittu Bird Sanctuary.
Beautiful.
Next. Yeah, so this is the lesser goldenback. This is one of the birds that I photographed at a blind near South Bangalore. And it landed for a few minutes and it was too close. So I had I had too much of a lens, as they say. Didn't have too much of a choice to change lenses or anything like that. So just tried to make it into a portrait. Hopefully you like it. Really, really beautiful woodpecker. Now this is one of the most common birds in India. This is called an oriental white-eye, and you can see why. It has this prominent white ring around the eye, and it is of the Euhina family. It was also photographed at the same blind that the previous woodpecker was photographed at. Next. This is a painted stork, and this particular one, I saw them at a couple of places on the way from Bangalore to Rangantittu, but this one was photographed at Rangantittu. They were flying all around. I was hoping for a better background, but this is the sky. And these are very noisy birds, and they were just chattering away. They have very beautiful colors. They, their head is orange, yellow, red, pink, it was fun photographing these from the moving boat. Next. This is a red whiskered bulbul. This is usually found in the southern part of the country. I had never seen this one before. There is another bulbul called the red vented bulbul, and that is common to the northern, actually it's common pretty much everywhere. But I have seen it in the northern part of the country. I had never seen this one, so this was kind of a lifer. And this was again photographed at the same blind. Next. So this is a spot-billed pelican, and in the first photograph, the main photograph that you see, it was trying to grab this fish, which it was not successful at, and it was right in front of me, pretty far away. And then it came around, the same specimen came around, and I don't know what was going on, but he kept his bill open and was flying around. So maybe something was stuck. I don't know what exactly was going on, but it was kind of interesting to be able to photograph this bird in action trying to fish, come up empty-handed, and then just pretend that he has had a fish in his beak, in his pouch. Okay, next. By the way, many of these are lifers for me. This is a stork-billed kingfisher, really beautiful kingfisher. I have seen it once before in Singapore on my last trip, but this was the first time I saw it in India. And you can see there was a pair of these hanging on these logs, these submerged logs, and they didn't allow us to get too close. So this is about a 4K crop, but it is, it was pretty far away. And I did put a 2x converter for this bird, but it's a big kingfisher, but not really that big a bird. And I think this is photographed handheld at 1200 millimeters of focal length, so pretty far away, and also cropped. Okay. Next. This is the white-breasted water hen. This also came to the blind. It was checking out some seed on the ground, and this belongs to the Rallidae family. It's a similar family to our coots here, but really pretty. Next. I think this might, yeah. So the next one is the fantail, the white spotted fantail. You don't really see the spots here. There are spots on its breast, but it jumps around, spreads this tail like its fan, which is why it's called the fantail. And I believe this is my last photo.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great shot, Vivek.
Thank you.
Laura. Laura, are you on the call?
She's trying to unmute.
Okay. Unfortunately, because I'm sharing my screen, I can't see anyone.
You're still muted.
She is shaking her head in disgust.
You go to the lower left of your screen, there's...
Maybe Shri can manually unmute her.
Let's see. Nope, I can't.
Yeah, Sri, if we bring up the participants dialogue, you can find her, and then you'll be able to, as the host, you'll be able to click on the microphone to unmute her.
So Steve, actually, it's not allowing me to do that, Steve. It's just saying I need to ask her to unmute. That's it.
Okay, well, that's a start.
Yeah, I am asking, but nope.
Hey, Shri, just go, click on the lower right side, you see the zoom, the zoom in the tray, right? Click on that. Go down below.
Below.
Yeah, right there, right next to where your cursor is. There is a zoom icon, right?
Oh,
Just
here?
go down. Yeah. Click on that.
That's
do you have a dual setup?
no,
Dual monitor setup?
No, regular, just one.
Okay, sorry. That's how you usually do it.
Huh.
Circle around to her later.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah. Sorry.
You can fix it. I have faith.
Yeah. If you have time, yes. Okay, now I need to share. Let's see. Okay. Nope. Are you guys seeing the screen?
We see Laura.
Okay. Laura, we might have to come back to you.
Hi, Sri.
Hi.
Thank you very much for letting me show a few pictures here. Why don't you go ahead and show the first one?
Yeah. Oops. All right.
So I put this picture up just because a lot of the pictures that I'm going to show are taken outside of the Bay Area, but I wanted to show you that I was still taking pictures in the Bay Area. I have been trying for many years to get this shot, and this is close to what I have in my mind, but not quite. But it's a peregrine falcon, and as it takes off from this cliff edge, it casts a shadow on the cliff perfectly. So you get this really interesting picture of the peregrine. This is the female with her shadow cast on the cliff. Next one, please, Sri. So now we're traveling. We've made 2 trips this year already. I think, Sri, I think you were a little surprised that these were all taken this year.
Yeah.
But this is a picture that was taken on a trip that we made to Kenya and Tanzania. Because strange as it may seem, we know your ambassador to Kenya, and she invited us to come for a visit. And this is a picture of a yellow-billed oxpecker, and you can see it's just reaching to grab a fly off of the forehead of a Cape buffalo. And I just love the juxtaposition of the very large animal, the very small fly, and the medium-sized bird. Next picture, please, Sri. And this is on the same trip. We were fortunate to see these saddle-billed storks. I'm not quite sure why they call them saddle-billed storks, because they do have that little saddle of yellow on their bill, but they have so many other colors and so many other outstanding features, but that's just the way it is. We were caught in a rainstorm, and these birds came out, and just as the rain stopped, we were able to get these pictures. Next picture, please. And this was really interesting. This is an African harrier hawk, and African harrier hawks have specialized modifications to their legs that let them reach into crevices and turn corners with their legs. It's like their knee is double jointed so that they can reach in and pull nestlings out of nests. And we were fortunate enough to see this African harrier hawk trying to pull nestlings out of a weaver nest. I just thought it was so interesting to watch this bird trying to hold on to the weaver nest, flapping its wings for balance to try to hang on and see if it could pull something out. It ended up being ultimately unsuccessful. Next slide, please. And this is a martial eagle, which is the largest eagle in Africa. I had seen one before perched eating a monkey, but this was the first chance I had to get one in flight, and I was just so happy that it took off from a tree and flew down low enough that I could get it without a sky background. It's just a beautiful and stunning eagle. Next picture, please. And now the other trip that we made besides to Africa, we went to Costa Rica. My wife and I are on the board of directors of a NGO in Costa Rica dedicated to parrot conservation, and they had their in-person board meeting there. So we went, and then we actually stayed an extra few days to get pictures. This is a green heron that I caught in flight. I was taken by surprise when the bird took off, so I was shooting at way too slow a shutter speed. But in the series, there were a couple of sharp pictures where I was panning appropriately, and I got this picture of the bird calling as it flew by. Next picture, please. And this is a slaty-tailed trogon. It's not an uncommon trogon, but it is a very beautiful trogon. And we were just very fortunate to be shooting hummingbirds when this bird flew onto this really great perch. So quickly turned around and grabbed some shot of the slaty-tailed trogon. Thank you. Next slide. And these are the hummingbirds that we were shooting when the trogon came by. This is a black-crested coquette, which is a hummingbird that's found on the Pacific coast of Costa Rica. And all the hummingbirds love these porter weeds, these blue flowers that have lots of nectar in them. And so I had a fortunate number of opportunities to take pictures of this hummingbird as it was feeding. Next picture, please. And as some of you may remember, a few years ago, I was asked to give a talk at the Bay Area Bird Photographers, and I just showed parrot pictures because I really am a parrot fanatic. And on this trip to Costa Rica, I was just so delighted to see two parrots that I did not have pictures of before. And this is one of them. This is a white-fronted parrot, also called a white-fronted Amazon parrot or a spectacled Amazon parrot. It's a relatively small member of the genus Amazona, but this is a picture of it perched right on the edge of its nest site. I was just so delighted to see this nesting pair and very happy to get this nice photo. Next picture, please. This is another parrot that we saw in Costa Rica. These are great green macaws. They're standing, there's a pair standing at the opening to their nest hollow. You can tell the opening is really big, astonishingly large, but they've nested at this site a number of times. So we were taken by this is one of the parrots that's really the focus of the NGO that we're on the board of directors for, and called the Macaw Recovery Network. And they knew of this nest site. So one of the staff took us by the day before the start of the board meeting so we could see this nest site. And it was pretty remarkable to see both adults perched on the edge because they did have eggs at the nest at this time. Next picture, please. Oh, and now I'm going to pass things over to my wife, who's next.
Yep.
I would like to suggest that we go back. It sounds like the person who was skipped now is able to.
She's able to? Okay.
Yeah. Hi, guys. Sorry about
why doesn't
that.
she do that, and then everybody can have a break between my husband and me?
No, thank you. I appreciate that. I was going to ask Laura after your talk, but we can do this. Yep.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. This is actually my first time in this group. Thank you. I've only started bird photography less than 3 years ago. So you can go ahead and start with the first slide. These are all local birds, all in Santa Clara County. And this is the Cason's kingbird. It was one of two that were seen down in Gilroy. I think most of my photos I've posted are all in March. So this was one of the two mating pair, and they were seen near the Gilroy Ponds. Next. And that's a ruby crown kinglet. I guess these are a little out of order. That one was seen, I believe, let me see, I have my notes right here. Lake Almaden, that's where I saw that one, yes. Right along the trail there. I don't really have any other details to tell you about it. No you worries. Can go ahead and go to the next one. And this is the lark sparrow I saw down at J.T. Morgan Park, I believe it was, in San Jose. Next. The hooded merganser, saw that at Lake Lagunita where I met Shreed. Not the same day, but close enough. I was actually looking for the common loon that was reported that day and was unsuccessful. Okay, next. Okay, this is the Allen's hummingbird at Ed Levin County Park on the Spring Valley entrance. I got him and the Rufus hummingbird that day, but I kind of like this photo better. So next. And this is the long-tailed duck at Shoreline Park. I think this was probably the third time it showed up. And it came really close to the edge, kind of where the surf scooters were, where they're getting the clams like the last photographer had. So it was great photography day for that. Next. And everybody, I think, knows what this is, the painted bunting. Red Start. Thank you, Ed. Agnews. I've gone there many times to see this bird and all the other beautiful birds there. Next. And this is the northern flicker. This is the yellow shaft. Saw this at St. Teresa. This is a female. I did get some photos of its wings spread out, but you can tell just by the marking on the back of the neck that it's the yellow shaft. Next. And this is at Shoreline Park. This is, I was just using a higher shutter speed and wanting to get all the different swallows. And I just thought, I just liked the action in this photo. A little dispute going on there, obviously. Next. And I think this is the last one, maybe. This is the red tail. And this one was sitting right there on the post and people were just walking right by within a foot or two. And he was just holding its own. And it was just a beautiful photo. And I just really liked the light in the eye. It was just a great photo. I was really proud to have gotten that one. Yep. Next. Is there another one or is that my last one? Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Sorry for the delay.
Thanks, Laura. No worries. And welcome to the photography club here.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And I'm enjoying all the other photos. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Kathy.
Okay. So as you heard from my husband, Corey, we made 2 international trips this year. And I have pictures from 2 of the places that we visited, Costa Rica, and then in, I guess I can't tell you whether they're just Kenya or Kenya and Tanzania. We'll get to that, but let's start with the first photo. Mm-hmm. So the first photo that I have here is of a blue grosbeak, which was taken in northwestern Costa Rica. And this bird I thought was kind of interesting. One, because it's a beautiful bird, but also because when I learned more about it, I found out that a good percentage of them are migrants and they go from far north Midwest United States down to Costa Rica and make that long trek. But there are resident blue grosbeaks in Costa Rica who stay year round. And it reminded me of what happens when Americans visit Costa Rica. Some of them go back and forth and some of them say, no, I love Costa Rica and I'm going to stay here permanently. So I don't know which one this bird was, but it was a good shot for me. And I was delighted to see it. So next picture. Another hummingbird that we saw was the snow-capped hummingbird. And this bird was incredibly hard to photograph because it seemed like it was either hiding in the shadows of the bushes or incredibly high up in the trees. So I was just glad to snag this photo of it coming in to get a drink. They're very pretty hummingbirds, and this was my first time seeing this. And this was up again in a near area called Rio Celeste in Costa Rica. Next. I took this picture in the Caño Negro in Costa Rica, right on the border of Costa Rica and Nicaragua. I have fantasized about getting one of these pictures through the years. And it just happened that we were in the right place at the right time. And I was able to scramble down to the end of the boat we were on and get a good angle and get this cormorant capturing this fish. And it kind of looks as though the fish is just going to jump right in. So, okay, next, please. So the remaining pictures are from our trip to Africa, one that we took in February. These are helmeted guinea fowl, and I just find them interesting, intriguing looking birds. And I loved seeing them kind of just hanging out together. They do pair together, and I just liked the way they were kind of hanging out. Next, please. The gray-crowned cranes are endangered birds. And although we were able to see them a number of times in Africa, it always felt special because they are so endangered. I've seen them other times in the past, but never had an opportunity to capture the birds in flight. And so I was really pleased in the Ngorongoro crater to be able to take this picture with this crane soaring in. Cranes in flight are just beautiful to me. And I particularly liked this shot for that reason. Okay, next. The southern ground hornbill is a remarkably distinctive profile. And so I liked the opportunity. We had the opportunity to get quite close to this bird who was busy hunting for bugs and reptiles, wasn't paying too much attention to us. And so I was able to get close enough so that I could really zero in and get this portrait. And for me, that was a lot of fun because I think these birds have a very distinctive face, eyelashes, and I was glad to get that. Okay, next one, please. Many places in Africa, you will see the weavers busy making their nests. The males bringing in the grass to weave these remarkable structures. I had wanted to get a picture and hadn't been terribly successful. And then one day, just as we were getting ready to go out in the afternoon on our afternoon safari drive, I spotted this area where there was a weaver, and the lighting was terrible. It was midday and it was bright sunlight. And I was very frustrated because it was hot and too bright and everything else. But I managed to kind of just keep wiggling around and eventually was able to get an angle that didn't have too much in the background. And then I was able to kind of just make it a high key image. So I think that worked okay. But these birds are great fun to watch, and particularly when they're busy weaving their nests. Okay, next one, please. The Kori bustards are enormous birds, and I've seen them in the past. Luckily, seen them in the past, but this was the first time that I had seen the males displaying. And the males, when they're displaying, are doing it as part of a lek. That's quite a big lek, but they are strutting around and they puff out their chest and they then flip their tail back and are doing all that they can to attract the attention of the females. And this was definitely the time of the year when the bustards were doing that, because we saw this both in Kenya and in Tanzania. Okay, the next, please. Another bird that we saw that I found very intriguing was the Jackson's widow bird. And in this photo, you can see to the left, the male, the bird with the black plumage and the long tail, and on the right, the female. And the Jackson's widow bird also are lekking birds, and they have what's called an exploded lek. So they are displaying in an area, but they're dispersed. And they come and do a dance, which I'll show you in a second. But then they come and then perch and display for the female, and the females check them out, see what they think, and then either choose to mate or fly away. In the next shots that I took, you'll see that this male was not successful and the female took off and flew away. I was glad to get the two of these together in the same frame, just so you can see how different the male and females look, and to see how the male was displaying on the perch. Okay, next, please. And this is the last photo that I have. This is a picture of the Jackson's widowbird male doing his dance in the grass. And they will, during their display, pop up out of their area in the grass and spread their wings, spread their tail, and do this over and over and over, popping up. I actually read that some people think that the famous dances of the Maasai warriors, where they jump in the air, was inspired by this behavior of the Jackson's widowbirds when they're doing their display, jumping in the grasses and showing off their prowess. Don't know if it's true or not, but I love the story. That's it for me. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks for sharing. Obi.
Hi.
Hi.
So I did my traveling last year, so this is local birds. We go kind of quickly with them so everybody gets a chance. This is around the Albany bulb, which has been made into a park now. Much more people traffic, but the birds still come in some of the time, and I always like the green-winged teal. The next. I saw some other mockingbirds. The mockingbirds must have been out at the right time here. From the Albany Bowl, there's Point Isabel, which is a dog park that then goes on to the Rosie the Riveter, and these big pictures are all in that area. Northern mockingbird. Next. And the hermit thrush was also in the general area. I always like finding them. I've seen more of them this year than many years. Next. And the California towhee, also in the same area. And then in the marina, there were the black-crowned night heron, both the adult, and then the next picture, I think, is the juvenile, to see the two of them and the difference. Next. Yeah, there you go. They're always fun.
Yep.
Next. So this guy I found down by the Oakland airport when I went looking for the bald eagles who are now setting up a nest in a golf course there. And a lot of talk has been around about them, and didn't get quite as close to the eagles I'd like, but this is their hunting ground where they're getting their food. And these guys are in that area, along with a lot of coots. Next. And this was in the Oakland Hills. There's a place where they have a memorial to the fire several years ago. And these golden crowned sparrows were popping in and out of the color. So I thought that was kind of fun.
Yep.
Next. And then I went up in the Sacramento area, trying to get the short-eared owls flying. Pretty far off, but I got a few shots of them. Great fun. They go hunting in the later afternoon, so there's still a little bit of light. I think that's my last one. Oh, and then I've been chasing these things around for quite a long time. And a friend mentioned that they were around several mornings. I went and tried, and there were no birds there. And then all of them, the whole flock came in and all landed on the same line. This is just a very small sampling of that flock. And that was great fun to catch them all. Cedar waxwing.
Beautiful shot.
Yeah, I got a big kick out of that.
Yeah.
Where were the cedar waxwings?
In Albany.
Okay, thank you.
Not far from where I live, just a couple blocks away. And they came there 3 mornings in a row. And the 3rd morning, I actually found them.
Beautiful.
That's my last one.
Okay. Well, thank you, Obi.
Yeah, thanks.
Steve?
Yep, I'm here.
Right.
So all my photos are from Shadow Cliffs and Pleasanton. So we can go to the next one. First one. I mostly was trying to get the common birds that I had didn't have a really nice shot from Shadow Cliffs from. So the house finch. Next. It's a great blue heron.
Yeah.
Next, yeah, western bluebird.
Very cool.
Next, great horned owl. Next.
Sorry. Yep.
Oops. Yeah. So the great horned owls, they made their first nest up here, or they took over the nest that they had like 2 years ago. And then 2 weeks ago, this whole branch with the nest on it broke off during a storm. So they lost their first set of chicks, and they're now took over another nest. So
Wow.
hopefully they'll get some chicks out this year. Next. So barn owl in one of the barn owl boxes.
Neat.
Red-shouldered hawk flying off. Fly off. And perched. Next, western scope jay. And then red-tailed hawk taking off. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Cool shots. Thank you. All right. Shravan, are you on the call?
Hey, Shree, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hi, yes.
Yeah, we can kick it off. Okay, so this first one is Allen's hummingbird, wings out. This was a really windy day. It was actually pretty amusing because they were balancing on these thin, I forget what the vegetation is, but it's at the UCSC Arboretum. And they were kind of just flapping around. So the haze and stuff was difficult to shoot through, but I was able to freeze that. Next one, please. Yeah, this is another one. I just kind of like the vegetation. It almost looks coniferous. Last year I got a shot kind of static on this with the, mixed background. So I challenged myself to get kind of one background and elevate myself. And I like the pose as well. Thanks. Yeah, this was a really interesting one because this was an Anna's hummingbird that I'd photographed over a couple weeks, and it was the most tolerant one ever. So I just put my lens on my crop sensor, minimum focus distance like 3 feet. I took this portrait, and he was just, the tamest hummingbird ever, but just fascinating to see, all those little patterns and iridescence. Next, please. So what I've been challenging myself to do is brave my equipment and the elements more. It's always a little scary, but you trust the ceiling and keep it dry. Intermittently get out, shoot, back under cover. And I like this shot because it really taught me how to time the raindrops. You kind of have to figure out the shutter speed that works. So 1/100th, it was too long. 1/1000, it was too small, almost looked like snow, which I didn't like. So I found a sweet spot around 1/400th second. So really like the effect here, and it just adds a different element. This shot by itself, I don't want to say sucks, but if there was no rain, it's just another clean shot, but the rain just makes it special to me. Next one, please. Yeah, this was I was out at the coast, and it was just after the storms when we had snow, and I got this nice shot in the break with this wind here.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and this one is osprey. I had a lot of fun photographing these guys. They're at Santa Cruz County area, and I just really like the wing pose here, kind of the head tucked, and you can see all the underwing details. Next, please. Yeah, so this was interesting actually at the nest site. This snag unfortunately is down now, but earlier it was there. And this was actually an interloping female osprey, I believe you can tell by the brown necklace. And the mated pair was not too bothered by her, which was very interesting. But the male had a carp at this time and was in two minds whether to eat or chase this osprey away. And he tried chasing it, it just didn't get very far. But I was lucky to time this right. And actually, I kind of messed this up because I lowered my camera after this, but she actually took off of it immediately. So but I'm glad I just got this frame. You know, sometimes it's just hard to react fast enough, and I reacted fast enough here.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and so this past winter, I found one of the most cooperative red-shouldered hawks. They're a very common bird, but they're extremely difficult because they're skittish. And I think kind of like I think Laura said earlier with the red tail, this one was very tolerant. Just people would just walk by and it was flying from perch to perch. So, you know, I like to say predictability is how you get good flight shots. So I just kind of kept, you know, repeating. I missed a lot, but got this one. So, and it's unusual for adult birds to be this tolerant. Usually the juveniles are. So, you know, the adults are so much more colorful. So I seized that opportunity. Braved the snow on the Highway 17 in 3 hours of traffic and got the shots. Yeah. And yeah, this one was when I really tried, you know, I was at 30 frames per second, I think, or 15 frames per second, 1/4000 second shutter speed. So just really fast, just missed a lot, but I'm happy I got this one lift off pose of this nice perch that he was using. And it's interesting because usually I see the corvids bullying the hawk, but this hawk was very aggressive and the bird was chasing away ravens and crows that were, you know, ravens are quite a bit bigger than a red-shouldered hawk. So I'd never seen that behavior before. And it wasn't a nest site because it was a wintering ground. So it was just very interesting behavior. Yeah, and I think this might be the last one or one of the last ones. So this was in downtown Sacramento. I've never seen a spectacle like this. There was probably 300 to 500 waxwings on these pyracantha bushes, and they were just stripping it in a Walgreens parking lot. So fortunately, I had my camera on hand and, you know, tried to make the most of it. And I was trying to get isolated shots. It just wasn't working out. So I just said, this is such a spectacle. Let me take some video and try to capture some stills of the scene. So I just literally pre-focused and took as many shots, thousands of shots. And, you know, one of them came out nice with the two ones flying in. And if you look in the middle, you can actually see the one out of focus tossing a berry up front. So it's just an interesting shot and just something different. You know, sometimes I like mixing things up.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Sri. Appreciate it.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah. Michael.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is my first time to present with the group. I've attended some of the other dial-in Zooms. I usually bird with the East Bay group and stuff. So all of my pictures are in California, starting at the first of the year. When it was really storming, I had to drive to CES in Las Vegas. I could have flown, but I said, I'm going to drive and I'm going to take my camera and look around. And so you can go to the first one. First slide was taken when it was snowing in Tehachapi. And later on in the day, the winds were, you know, if people know Tehachapi, as you head from Southern California into Las Vegas, it's over a ridge, the Tehachapi Mountains. And it was snowing and during the day when I took this, and the winds later that day were about 40, 50 miles an hour over the ridge. So I got lucky that day and was just drove to Tehachapi off the road towards the mountains and to let me look around. I got some beautiful pictures of some deer and I happened to catch, you know, this Western bluebird. The colors were just incredible at that time of the year with this guy. So go to the next one. Next one was taken, OBI had make a trip. This was actually at Corsica. You know, like you said, I had parked down a ways, and this was taken in January before the storm. I believe the storm has actually damaged their nest now, and they're hoping they do a second round of clucks in the trees. But this is inside of the Corsica. This is an Alameda, right by the bridge, and this is the cell tower. This was taken with an 800 millimeter lens at the edge of the golf course. So if people go there to take a look at the eagles, the nest is inside of the Corsica golf course. And I try to take pictures of birds typically when there's some kind of action or they're doing something funny. and either looking at you or looking at something or doing something. So I took a few hundred shots this day with the eagles flying around, and I like this one as it was coming in, landing on the top of the tower. Next slide. And this is I think this day I went out and said, I'm only going to try to do birds in flight. And at Arrowhead Marsh by the Oakland airport, seagulls are there quite frequently, along with, lots of shorebirds. I've almost never been disappointed there at Arrowhead getting pictures, even, some of the rails and soars and rejoice there. But I like this one because you can see its reflection coming in and the wings out, and it's trying to slow down as it's coming in for a landing. And just like the detail and the look on the bird as it was coming in. The next one. This was taken in February, again at Arrowhead Marsh. The eagles come and visit the marsh area. And if you're familiar with Arrowhead Marsh, there's a pond 1, 2, and 3 as you drive in. Right now, they're pretty full of water. Usually, for the last number of years, they're always dried up. But there's lots of water in there now, and if you walk all the way around the ponds, you can see lots of other types of birds besides the shorebirds in the bushes and in the trees. And that's where this Anna was just sitting there. And I had the camera all set up and waiting for it to go in flight. And I must have waited about 5 minutes, and it just kept looking around. It never took off. So I got tired of taking a few shots of it like this, waiting, and moved on. But it was just not very far away, about, I would say about 30 feet away, 40 feet away, as it was just sitting there. Next one. And again, I got a whole series of this little guy just singing away. And I tried to wait until it was like looking right at me or pointing right at me as it was singing along. And I just thought it was a nice picture. You could see the mouth open, the tongue, and I just liked it for a sparrow. Next one. This was taken at Arrowhead Marsh as well. There's some Coopers that hang around there, and I like the stare. I mean, I waited. It was looking around and moving around on the limb a little bit, and then as it stayed there and I stayed there, we kind of squared off, and it kept staring at me. So I finally got the picture of it just looking at me, and I like that. Next one. This is at Coyote Hills, wild turkeys over there, and the sunlight and the early morning. This is now early in March, and the grounds were all wet because of all of the obviously all the rain we've had, and the flock of turkeys was at least 30 or 40 strong, walking around, the males strutting their stuff, and the colors on this one were just too good to not to pass up and get a couple shots of it. Next one. This is one of taken at Lafayette Reservoir. I had a meeting out there, and about an hour and a half or 2 hours before the meeting, I pulled into Lafayette and walked around the reservoir, and I waited for a long time on. I don't remember the name of the trail, but the Cooper just sat there and was looking around, and so I got ready and I said, well, eventually he's going to take off, and if I wait and get a sequence, I can put them together. And so I was lucky enough to be set up, and as he took off get it in flight. And I like the sequences like this. They show how the bird flies and the wings, and I put together a number of these like this, so I like them. Next one. And at Lafayette Reservoir, there were ospreys flying around, and this guy came around carrying the catch for the day and flew overhead. And I like the stare and the fish and lovely birds. And I think I'm seeing, I think in the past year to 2 years, probably more eagles in the Bay Area than I've seen in the past 15, 20 years. I don't know about other folks, but if you're seeing more eagles, the hawks are on the rise. I mean, I see lots of red tails, lots of red shoulder and coopers, but the eagles are starting to show up more and more. So that's pretty exciting. And I think that's it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing these wonderful shots. John?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, I just got out of my meeting.
Oh, welcome. Yes, yeah.
Good. Okay. My images are from a little trip we took down to SoCal. And that was right after the terrible flood that we had in our basement in the end of January. Anyway, I went to Balboa Park down in San Diego, and also up in LA, went to Huntington Park. And that was basically it. So you restricted me to this year, so that's fine. Okay, so this is, I believe it's a Brandt's cormorant that's kind of, I guess he or she is displaying, or it could be a nest behavior. I'm not really sure. Maybe somebody can help me on this. I've never seen this before, but they were on a cliff, and we were above them, and so I shot a few of these. Next. This is over at the Calera Reservoir. These are the where's my?
These are westerns. Western.
These are the. I was going to say Clark. There are Clarks there as well, but these are the Western breeds, and they were having a great time out there, walking on top of the water. Next. Yeah. And they're coming at you this time. So they really put out a lot of energy to do this. I just can't imagine it. And I hope it's worthwhile for them at the very end. So we'll go back there probably the end of this month or maybe early May. And by that time, the chicks will be hatched, and hopefully they'll be riding around on the mother's back. Same place. Next. Yeah, that was, I had a question here. Yeah, it was La Jolla for the Brandt's cormorant. Yeah. The Townsend's warbler. This was in Huntington Park in LA. Next. And this is the little Allens. Allens were there in abundance. This was at Balboa Park in San Diego. Next. And just the male gorget of the Allens is it's just so stunning. It's just hard to find that in the hummingbird world, something like this, and so complete. Next. Oh, another one. I just can't get away from this. It's just too awesome.
Beautiful.
It looks like little gold coins, stacked. It's amazing. Next. And this was a female Allen's. Next. And these are a couple little bush tits. It was just a nice little, I was over in Balboa Park. And they were just feeding, maybe they were feeding on the fruit there, maybe they were looking for spiders. I just don't know. But they look very cute. Next. And this is a yellow rump warbler on top of a cactus in Balboa Park. Always a stunner, especially this time of year when they're in their mating plumage. The yellows are just so brilliant. Next. That's it.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful shots.
Thank you.
Glenn?
I'm here.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
But you can't see me. Okay, we can go right to the first photo. So way back in 2014, at one of these members' nights, I showed photos of 4 albatross species that I had seen on pelagic trips in California. So tonight I'm kind of following up with some albatrosses that we saw in New Zealand in January. All these shots were taken on a couple of pelagic trips out of Kaikoura on the South Island. And all these species breed on these small, remote offshore islands in New Zealand, but hundreds of miles out from the main islands like Chatham, Campbell, Antipodes, Bounty, Auckland Islands. And because those islands are all so far apart and so far from other land masses, basically each island has evolved its own species of albatross. But of course, since they're albatrosses, they wander huge distances all across the Southern Ocean and South Pacific. And so even though they breed far apart, you can actually see several species together in places like Kaikoura that have really deep water that the albatrosses like near shore. So this is the royal albatross. It's the northern subspecies, which most taxonomies would split as a separate species, but not our beloved Clements Ebert taxonomy. An interesting thing in this photo is if you look at the up on the hillside behind the bird, above the bird, there's a landslide scar that looks a lot like an owl. Of course, owls have nothing to do with albatrosses, but I thought that was kind of cool. Go to the next photo. This is also the Northern Royal. This is one of the larger albatrosses, has a wingspan of over 11 feet. Next photo. And this is the southern subspecies of royal albatross, also usually split as a separate subspecies. It has more white in the upper wings than the northern, and that white leading edge of the wing helps us separate it out. Next photo. This one is even bigger than the Northern Royal. This one gets up to 11.5 feet wingspan, which makes it kind of a close second for the largest albatross species out there. Next photo. And this is wandering albatross. This is the New Zealand or Antipodean subspecies, also usually split as a separate subspecies. It's a little bit smaller, wingspan of about 11 feet. You can separate it from the royal albatrosses by its blockier head shape, and it doesn't have the black line along the gape that the royals have. The next photo. And this is a pair of the wandering albatrosses that just landed next to our boat, and they're greeting each other with their this kind of characteristic of head bobbing motion. Like pretty much all albatrosses, these species, a lot of these species are endangered, both due to introduced predators on their nesting islands and also long line fishing, where they get snagged on hooks and pulled under and drowned. And this species in particular is rated endangered by IUCN. Go to the next photo. This is a Salvin's albatross. It's part of a a group of smaller albatrosses. They're called mollymawks. So this one, its wingspan is a mere 8.5 feet. And we can go to the next photo. This species, the next photo. So this species wanders really farther afield than the other albatrosses we were looking at. It commonly goes as far east as Chile and Peru. And one of them actually made it as far north as California. If you were here in 2014, I showed a Salvin's albatross as one of those California birds that I had seen. Next photo. And even though the great albatrosses, the wandering and the royal albatrosses are really impressive because of their size, I think I kind of like the smaller mollymawks better. They have a little bit more color to them, and I always think their faces look like they're wearing makeup. They're just kind of a classy looking bird. And this photo in particular, bird photographers often debate the merits of zoom lenses versus prime lenses, and I would submit this photo as an argument for zoom lenses. I mean, this bird, big bird, it was probably flying 10 to 15 feet away from the boat, and I, pulled back on the zoom. It was probably a 160 millimeter equivalent, and I still couldn't fit the whole bird in the frame. There's, I couldn't have got this shot if I had been using a prime long lens. Next photo, and this is the last one. This is a white-capped albatross. It's formerly called shy albatross. Before that species was split into a few different ones. It's another mollymawk. This is the New Zealand or Auckland Island subspecies, another one that's often split as a separate species. And this is the smallest of the albatrosses I'm showing tonight. It's wingspan of about 8.2 feet. So that's it.
Wow. Fantastic shots.
Thank you.
Amitabha, are you online?
Yes, I'm here, Sri.
Perfect. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Well, great to be here. This is my second time participating in the Bring Your Own Photos night. So let's go to the first picture. Today I have pictures mostly from the Bay Area and from Hawaii, from Honolulu. We made the trip in January. So this is Anna's hummingbird, and this was taken at the McKillen Ranch in Cupertino. And this was during the Great Backyard Bird Count, which was the first time I actually visited the McKillen Ranch, and I got to see our awesome Santa Clara Valley Audubon Society there. So yeah, it's very good to get the hummingbird almost kind of frozen in time. Next one, please. Okay, this is the double-crested cormorant, and this was taken at Davis. And so I usually go to Davis maybe once a month because my wife works in the university. It's a hybrid work. But when I get to go there, I try to spend some time in the arboretum. And this was a rainy day, and these cormorants were kind of out of the water, spreading their wings, trying to get dry. And there's very tiny raindrops you could see in the background. And this was just sitting there for, I don't know, half an hour. I was there, covering my head with a cap and raincoat, and this guy was just there for a long time. So, yeah, next one, please. So this is the golden crown sparrow, and this was taken at the Listec in Santa Clara. This was after roaming around for 2 hours in the Listec area without finding anything really on that cloudy day. And suddenly the sun had come out, and these bunch of sparrows were taking a dip into that puddle, inside the park. So I got a bunch of photos of the sparrow, which it was kind of dipping its head into the water and coming up, doing all kind of gymnastics. And this was when it was kind of looking at me sideways. Just have to get that shot. Next one, please. Okay, so this is a mallard. This is also taken at the UC Davis campus in the Arboretum there. It was the same rainy day where you saw the cormorants, and you can see the raindrops, just this very tiny raindrops behind it, or rather all around it. And I was kind of taking my Canon 70 Mark II for a ride that day. I was just clicking and clicking, and I think my camera takes about 10 frames a second, so I was able to get this shot when it was almost horizontally spread its wing and kind of balanced looking at me. Next, please. Okay, this is the northern mockingbird, and this was taken in San Jose. So I don't know if you guys know, but there's this the Sikh Gurudwara in San Jose where we go sometimes. So this was a Saturday, and I think it was just clouds and suns coming out and going, and we were about to enter the Gurudwara where before this bird showed up, and I just took the shot. So yeah. Next one, please. Okay, and this was in Hawaii, in Honolulu near the Waikiki beach. This is a Pacific golden plover, and I have not seen this bird before, but and I had to actually go and look up in Merlin what this bird is, and it's so impressive that it has got these golden spots all around it. And it was just finding some insects and things like that on that grass for a long time. So this was our final day in Honolulu. My wife and I visited there during the MLK Day in January this year. And before we headed to the airport, we thought, okay, let's go to the beach, hang around there, and try to see if there are any birds. And I was very lucky to get this plover out there. Next one, please. This is, again, a red-crested cardinal, again in Honolulu this time. So this was near the Turtle Beach, which is kind of the north of the Oahu Island. So we went there one afternoon, and it already had started raining. So all the turtles were in the water. We couldn't see any turtle, but we saw this gorgeous red-crested cardinal out there. So after I came back from Hawaii, I tried looking up as to when these birds were introduced in Hawaii. Obviously, these are not native to Hawaii, but they were introduced later. And I found that these ones are found only in Oahu, whereas the yellow-billed cardinal, the other variety, those are found in all the other 3 big islands, but not in Oahu. So it's kind of a complement of these 2 cardinals. Some way they got introduced in Hawaii in that way. Next one, please. And this, I believe, is a red-shouldered hawk. And this was in the Blackberry Farms in Cupertino, very close to the McKillen Ranch. So this was a weekday. I had taken off from work, and I had nothing else to do. My wife was working at home, so I thought, okay, let's go birding. And when I went to this Blackberry Farms, I think many of the trails were kind of closed because of the rains out there. So I kind of circumvented some bridges and started walking on a trail. And I looked up and I saw this hawk perched up. So I started clicking, but I wasn't able to get a clean shot as to there's still a branch across its body. But this was the best I got. And I've been seeing a lot of these red-shouldered hawks in and around in the Bay Area recently, and I think somebody else mentioned that hawks are very prevalent these days in the Bay Area. So yeah, next one, please. Oh, and this one is a rock pigeon, but it's also called the white dove because it's just so white, pure white. This was also in Honolulu this time. Same area where I got the plover near the Waikiki beach, and this was again on the last day of our trip there. And some of these birds were visiting our hotel, like in the balcony. We would get up in the morning and we would have some grains to give to these pigeons. They'd come almost inside the room, and without any fear, they would just eat those grains. But this one was spotted near the beach. I think the blue you see in the background behind the tree is not the sky, but it's the ocean probably. I don't know. It could be the sky because it was at an elevation. Next one, please. These are the western bluebirds, and this was again in the McKillen Ranch. I was very happy that I got the male and the female captured in one frame. So the males is obviously the right one. It's much brighter in blue, whereas the female is the left one, much not so bright. But I think they were just there one morning. I went pretty early, around 9 o'clock during this Great Backyard Bird Count. And I got them together in the same frame. I was so happy to do this. I think that was probably the last one, Sri.
One more.
Oh, this one, finally. This was the zebra dove. This was again in Honolulu. And this dove was just on the ground. It spread its wings and it was probably trying to dig a hole or something. It was there like this for a long time. So I was very happy to see how the sun hit its wings, interiors, and all these designs and patterns were just so amazing to see that. So that was my last photo. Sri, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. Great shots.
Hello.
Hi.
I'd like to say thanks to Sri for everything you do, and thanks to all the other contributors. Good to see what everybody else is shooting. And yeah, we can go ahead and go to the first shot then. This is over at Ed Levin Park in Milpitas. I saw a couple of flickers. My friend said I better shoot it because you don't see them very often in flight. So I took a couple shots. This is the first one of this couple shots that I've made that I brought to the presentation. I like this one because it shows the colors of the one on the left, of course, as well as you can see the tail colors of the one on the right and some of the mouth color around the beak. Next photo, please. And this is the other one showing the different wing positions and different colors, and a little bit closer up one of the one on the right too. And I think this was taken near the where I think it was Laura got the shots of the hummingbird by the small lake at the Levin Park. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Actually, this is also at Levin Park for the small lake. I thought it was kind of funny. This arrow, he was trying to kick down this really big trout. It was huge. And you kind of see the back of it. It almost looks like a black snake or something. I thought it was kind of funny because of the reflection and everything. They tried several times to get this fish down, but it couldn't do it in the end. They finally had to give up and let it go.
No.
Okay, and next one. This is over at Point Reyes, the gray ghost, over by the Abbott's Lagoon parking lot. A couple of the guys said that it hangs out there, but I hadn't seen it around that area before. It was good to see that in the morning light. And we go to the next one. This is also at Point Reyes by the Drake's Beach parking lot. Of course, we went there to see the elephant seals, which we saw a few. And I looked on top of one of the light towers there, and there's an osprey eating the fish. When we got out of the park, got out of the car, the osprey took off. It was circling the lot, looking for someplace else to land. They kept going around and around, but there was no really no other place to land for it, so it ended up back on top of the light tower. But since it circled around a few times, we were able to get some shots of it. And it always seems to eat the head first because the head was gone by that time. So we can go to the next shot. This is also at Point Reyes, Kestrel, not too skittish, so it didn't take off when we pulled over to take this picture. So it'll get fairly close to this one. And go to the next shot. This is over at Sanborn Park. We had heard about the pygmy owl there last year, but we didn't try to go until this year. We finally got there, and we were looking for it in this one area where we walked up the trail with this one guy who had seen it before. We were waiting around this one tree hoping it would land there, but nothing was happening. Then this woman directed us to this area where she said she had been shooting it. So we got there, and there was two guys there, but they had seen us coming, and they didn't want us to get any shots of it. So they had put their cameras down, and they'd gone to a different part of the trail to try to throw us off. And my friend had gone up to him and goes, "Hey, where's the owl? You guys seen it?" And he goes, "Well, it's been flying all around there." He didn't really want to help us out at all. So fortunately, I was able to spot the owl in the area, and we were able to get the shots of it. So this is the first of two shots of the pygmy owl. Go to the next one. And it's same owl with a little bit different light on it, facing towards the light a little bit more. The owl, when I first saw it, I didn't recognize it as an owl at first. I just thought it was like a little nondescript little bird. But since I was looking for the owl, I knew it was in the area. I thought I'd better take another look at it. So then I realized it was the owl. So then I got my friend and we were able to get the shots of it. And I think that's the last one.
Yeah, great shots. Yeah.
Thank you.
Colin?
Hi, Steve.
Hey.
Yeah, my few photos here are all taken locally, either Palo Alto or Mountain View, with old-fashioned equipment. Common birds, trying to make something of fairly common surroundings. So we'll see. Number one, please. Yeah, I wonder. I use, as I say, an old-fashioned SLR, and I wonder whether these new cameras would choose the eye or the seed as the thing to focus on.
Yeah,
it's obviously a mockingbird down in Mountain View. Next, please. This was taken through the kitchen window, and I again, I'm sure I'm not alone in this. Finding that you've taken a photograph you didn't know you'd taken, and it's a common thing. So I don't know, whatever this thing is, this nictitating membrane or whatever, why it was closing on the dove. The dove was just foraging in the front yard, and I opened the kitchen window, and well, the window was open. Otherwise, it would have scared it. Next, please. I came across this rather gruesome scene. I think that's the remains of a goose down in Mountain View by Shoreline Lake there. Next, please. Yeah, this is on the lake, shoreline. Lucky enough to get the male displaying right next to the female. They put on quite a show this year, actually. I saw more this year than last. Next, please. I think that's yellow rump warbler down in the Palo Alto Baylands. Very close. Next, please. I don't know why. I guess it's having a doze. the burrowing owl that I think many of you must have seen down in the Bixby area in Palo Alto. It was away from the nest. It's actually 20, 30 yards from the burrow, for some reason having a doze. Next, please. And the goldeneye took off, and I was surprised myself by being quick enough to catch it. Next, please. I think that may be the last one. I couldn't resist the eye of the dove poking around in the grass in the front lawn. I think that's it. Thank you. Oh, no, here we go. Yeah, the antics of the avocets, but pre-mated is sort of a prelude to the mating season, I think. You see them adopting these sort of mating postures way back in November, December. And this, I happened to catch one of many failures, obviously, but sort of like looking at the positions of the birds. I think that is the last one. No, I'm wrong. They got out of order. This is again through the front kitchen window, catching the light caught, the late afternoon sun caught the male house finch, and sort of, I didn't need to intensify the color. It's the way it came out. Responding to a feeder that we put up. I think that's probably it. See if there's any more.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you.
Shots. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Pranav, are you on the call?
Yes, I am here.
Hi,
everyone. Thanks, Reed, for organizing this. And this is also my second time participating. And theme for my pictures is bird in a group. So all the pictures that I have are birds interacting with each other in a group. So we can start there. So these cormorants were sitting on a moving platform in Lake Cunningham, and the platform was moving. So if you just wait long enough, you will see them in different poses from the same place. So I like this one because they are all facing in the same direction, which is usually not something you see. Usually they see in all different directions, trying to protect each other, looking for danger. But this time, for whatever reason, they were facing the same direction. Next one. This one, it reminds me of the artist in the backstage preparing for the show. I really like the way they are all kind of grooming and getting ready for a show. And if you notice this crackle, they have very aggressive personality. They are fun to observe, and in this particular scene, they were all kind of resting. So it was taken on the same day at Lake Cunningham. Next. So these were all golden eyes in Shoreline Lake, and this was I don't know who is with whom, but they were all trying to attract each other. This was during the mating season in February, and they were bobbing their heads and stuff. It was fun to watch them. I do have pictures like that, but I just wanted to pick this one because I wanted a group picture. And one of these could be Barrow's goldeneye because it has a yellow tip at the edge of the beak. Next. I forget which bird is this, but again, they were all flying in, and I was ready with the camera, so I was able to take the shot.
I think it's marble godwits.
Thank you. Yeah, I always forget about dowitcher and marble godwits and all those similar looking birds. Next. The three birds that I spend most time taking pictures is cedar waxwing, hooded orioles, and hummingbirds. And cedar waxwings are my favorite during the winter season. This is one picture I took very close to my home, and this year I was able to see them at like 60 different places, took more than 1,000 pictures. I have a huge collection of them just for this year, but this one is my favorite because they were really shouting at each other without making noise. So that was pretty cool. Next. These are a male common merganser. And again, this was in a pond where there were a lot of females also. So I don't know what they are doing here. They are probably planning something together. But yeah, it was also a day that a lot of mating displays were going on, but I chose this picture instead. Next. This was a special day. To be precise, it was March 1st. This munia, scaly-breasted munia, stopped by in our backyard. These are rare birds in Bay Area, and for some reason they found our backyard and they raided our feeders on the morning of that day. And coincidentally, they again stopped by on Monday this week. I didn't process the pictures in time to send to Shri. So this is from the March 1st. And this was very special day because I'm also from India. So when I see a bird from India visiting my backyard, I feel very good. Next. Again, my favorite birds are cedar waxwings, but robins are my friends. They actually lead me to cedar waxwings. So anytime I hear a lot of robins, I know that the next day cedar waxwing will stop by. So these were again in the same neighborhood where I took pictures of cedar waxwings, and I love robins for their personality and how they kind of help each other, how they sense danger and warn each other, and especially their chittering is like laughing I feel like they're laughing on something. So really interesting birds. Next. I forget which grebes are these. Maybe these are Western, I don't remember. But I like this picture, the way they are all kind of in a way facing each other, but not really. And the interaction was quite interesting. And this was in late January. The sun was setting and it was very beautiful at Calero. And I spent like 2 hours taking their pictures, and this is one of them. Next. This is the last picture. This is Brandt. This was taken at near Statue of Liberty in New York. This is from February. And this is my second time seeing them. Just a month before I saw them at Arrowhead Marsh for the first time. That's it, Sri. Thank you.
Excellent collection.
Thank you.
Jean.
Okay, I'm here.
Perfect. Take us away.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
So we went to Bixby and it was just really cool. There were so many vultures flying and I liked the lighting on this one. And we quickly learned why there were so many vultures flying. The next picture shows there was a jackrabbit carcass they were going after. So go ahead next. There was one vulture that was eating the carcass. You can kind of see the carcass near the front of the picture, but it would not let any other vultures come to it. And so I thought it was just flapping its wings, trying to keep the other vultures away. But when I looked at my picture, I realized it's using its claws too, as well as the other vultures. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I thought they shared. So that was interesting for me. Okay, next. This is also at Bixby. A kestrel caught a little green caterpillar and he was like really close to us. I don't usually get them close to us. So that was fun to see. Next. This is at Arastradero, scrub jays. I thought it was really fascinating to watch them. One was feeding bugs to the other one. I think it's a mating behavior. So I thought that was pretty fascinating to see. Next. This is also a Rastradero. This was a northern harrier. We didn't get to see it catch looks like a pocket gopher, but it caught a pocket gopher and it was fun to watch it eating it. It was a really foggy day, so it wasn't the best lighting, but it was cool to see it. Next. Back to Bixby. Burrowing owl. I didn't usually get to see it out of its hole, so it was fun to see it standing out of its hole. And it's also been kind of interesting. It's right by its nesting hole, but it's no longer there. It looks like a squirrel has taken back the hole. Next. White-tailed kite. It's doing its hovering behavior. The time we saw it, it was flying really, really slow with its feet down. And there was another one doing that also. And we thought it was some special behavior, but I think it was just hunting. But it was super, super slow. So I was able to get its picture. I mean, it was shadows, but I was able to get its picture nicely. So that was kind of fun. Next. So Claro Reservoir, watching the Western grebes doing their rushing thing was a lot of fun to watch them. And yeah, got to be a lot of energy to do that. Next. So the grebes also did this little reed dance. I hadn't seen that before. So they each got reeds and then they stood up and they did this went around in circles a couple times with their reeds and then eventually dropped back down and swam away. But I thought that was fascinating. I didn't know they did that. Next. And this is a very common mallard duck, but I just thought he was kind of cool. I sometimes forget to appreciate how beautiful our common birds are. And that's all.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you. Jim? Jim,
Go ahead first. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hi.
Hi. Thanks, Sri, for putting this together. Go ahead and show the first picture. You could, please. Oh, is that the first one? That's the last one.
Oh, okay. I just got them in the order they came in the email.
Oh,
last
can
one.
you go back?
Let me see. Nope.
Okay, I'll just do them now. I'll do them this way. These pictures were just, I'll go back the way you had them. That's fine. These pictures were all taken in Costa Rica. My friend Denise Mann and I went down there in February, end of January, all the way through February. This is a fiery throated hummingbird, and they you are usually a very sort of drab bird unless you get the light hitting their gorget just perfectly, and then they're really quite dramatic. Next one. This is another picture of them. Spectacular colors, though. All these pictures were taken with a Canon 7R and a 100 to 500 millimeter lens, which I love. I just think it's just a terrific outfit for photographing wildlife. None of them were taken with flash. That flash tends to be discouraged at a lot of the eco lodges and stuff down there, and I never used it. So I'm just having to use available light and position myself to get the sun off the gorget. Next one, please. But the colors on this hummingbird are just, this is the first time I had seen them. They're very local up in the high mountains down near Savegre, where the people go to see the quetzals. Next one. This was a picture that got away. This is a white-tipped sicklebill and a type of small hummingbird, and they feed on these heliconias, but they're very uncommon. I'd never seen them before. And there was a small reserve called the Fern and Palm Reserve. And this is the first time they had seen them there the whole year. And basically it stuck its head in the flower, the heliconia, and you just saw their back. And the one time he popped out, I had his camera set at too slow a speed, and he was quite a long ways away, and I was on a slippery, muddy slope in the rain, and it was very dark. But I got a picture. Good, next one. Oh, okay. This is sort of a lucky picture. This is a lineated woodpecker, and we did not harass or flush this bird at all. We just sat around and watched it for about 10 minutes, and then it got bored watching us and decided to fly away to another tree. And I happened to be lucky enough to get it when it took off, went to the other tree. A lot of these pictures, I was taking them up to 3,000, 6,000 ISO. And I find that if I use DXL Pure Raw in the processing, I can get really sort of, I think, very satisfactory definition without noise at those high ISO things. Next picture. This is a female fasciated ant shrike. Very early one morning, again, at very high, probably 3,000 or 6,000 ISO, near Mystico Hanging Bridges in Fortuna. Next one.
Wow.
This is a great curassow at RNL Observatory Lodge, and it was somewhat habituated, just wandering around to the feeders, and so it didn't require a lot of stalking, but the bird was so spectacular, and it was walking around showing off to a whole bunch of females trying to impress them. And they weren't that impressed, but he certainly thought he was good looking. Next one. And this is just a really pretty bird. This is a northern emerald toucanet at a little tiny place called the Soda y Mirador in Cinchona, which, if you know Costa Rica, is a bit north of the La Paz Waterfall Gardens at fairly high elevation. It's a little tiny soda or cafe that has platforms, and it's just the most perfect location, high elevation for a lot of high elevation birds. So we had great stuff there. And maybe with 3 trips back there, we liked it so much. And so I highly recommend people seek it out and go there. Next one. If that may be all, I'm not sure. Oh, here we go. This was, I looked for this bird on 7 prior trips in Costa Rica. And I think my problem was I was looking under the wrong name. And this used to be called a Prevost ground sparrow. And a few years ago, I think that got split or got renamed. And now it's called a Cabanis, the Cabanis ground sparrow. And this was at the Hotel Bougainvillea, in Santo Domingo, just outside of San Jose. And I had looked for this bird in their garden many, many times on 7 prior trips. And then we had 2 of them just came out and actually sort of posed for us. This looks really close. I was probably 25 yards away from this with my 500 millimeter lens on the R7, which makes it a 800 millimeter thing. And this is a tiny, tiny crop of the whole frame, but at again, about 6,000 ISO or something. And I'm just amazed with the 32 megapixels on that R7. You can crop enormously and get, I think, very nice results. Next, there's one. Oh yes, this is a yellow-headed caracara. And it was very upset because on the building next to the hotel, at the Hotel Bougainvillea again, there was a heating or air conditioning duct that was covered in metallic thing that caused it to have a big reflection. And he was so upset by seeing this reflection of himself there that he would attack it. And he'd come back and keep flying at it, you know, for about 5 or 10 minutes, and didn't seem to scare the other caracara away for some reason. And then he'd come back the next day and try again. He was a very slow learner, but that's all. Next one. And that's it.
Well, thanks for sharing.
For putting it together.
Sorry about the order.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah. I was going to try and, that's good. No problem.
Bruce. Bruce, are you on the call? Doesn't look like it, huh? Bruce? Okay. Kill. Still on the call? Let me see. Is anybody else able to hear me?
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you easily.
Yep, we can hear you.
Sorry, I thought I lost everybody, but looks like Gil isn't here either. All right. Boros.
That means I'm up.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello.
My parrot got bored once you stopped showing pictures of other parrots. So he put himself to bed. Anyway, so most of my images were captured with my Canon while on a trip I just got back from last week. I was in the Cayman Islands for 3 weeks on a dive trip. I also did quite a bit of drone work, but seeing as I just got back, I haven't had a chance to go through the drone images, just the pictures with my Canon. But I do know I have some gorgeous shots of like 100 egrets clustering together for the night. And so hopefully we'll get to those this weekend. Anyway, so the Cayman Islands, if you're not familiar, 3 little islands in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the Caribbean Sea, only about 100 square miles total. I usually go to Cayman Brac or Little Cayman. And Little Cayman is home to a colony of ducks like this, which is a West Indian whistling duck. Also, because they're in the middle of nowhere, they're a stopping point for a huge number of migrating birds coming up from Central and South America, up through and then hopping over to Cuba and then continuing on to the northeastern part of our continent. So it's pretty cool. It's a wonderful set of islands. Little Cayman in particular only has like 100 residents. I mean, actually it's about 120 residents living full time. It's very remote and very fun, and the bird life is astounding. And a lot of my pictures, you can go to the next one, please. A lot of my pictures are shot from the fly deck of the dive boats. And this is an example of that. This is a red-footed booby who was coming in low across the water. There's a breeding colony of the red-footed boobies on Little Cayman, and it's pretty popular. There's a whole pond on the west end of the island called the Booby Pond, which leads to a lot of funny jokes, obviously. You can go to the next one. Now, Cayman Brack has a breeding population of brown boobies, which this is one of, and it's kind of hard to shoot from the moving boat when you're at like 22, 25 knots, but sometimes it pays off. The brown boobies and the red-footeds will often follow the boats as you go out to dive sites, because the wake will kick up flying fish, which I also shoot with the camera, not a gun. So this is, these are the two main big birds on the island, and they live there full time. And you can go to the next slide, please. They also have a huge colony of magnificent frigate birds like this one, which is not the best shot, but I was in a hurry, like I said. There are so many frigate birds that if you go to the next slide, this is what the skies look like in the mornings. You'll just see hundreds of frigates riding the thermals, and occasionally, like in the middle of the frame of this, there is a booby shooting across. But I think those are the two most fun bird names to say, frigates and boobies. I don't know, it's just childish delight. You can go to the next slide, please. There's a lot of shorebirds like these little pipers. And then I really got lucky on this last trip. If you go to the next slide, there was this beautiful heron, and he was hunting, and I managed to get him in the moment where he managed to snag himself a ghost crab. I'll probably work on this image a bit for some of my study groups. So I'm really happy with this and a few others from it. So I think that's it for the Cayman pictures. And so these last two pictures were actually taken here at the ranch. And this is Frank. It's a very wet Frank. And we call everything here at our little ranch, which is above San Jose in the East Foothills, we call everything Frank, because then we don't get attached. But this Frank in particular, this red tail, has lived here for probably 6 years. I've been seeing him now, or her. They nest across from our property above the creek. They've been successful. Last year, they fledged 3. I'm hoping they do it again. It was a very wet winter, so we had a very wet Frank. He was, or she was, not particularly amused by all the wetness, but was very plump this winter, which we are happy about because we do not particularly care for gophers or ground squirrels. And then next slide, please. We also have huge 20 to 50 in a herd quail that just rove around the property. They're pretty gentle and non-destructive compared to some of the other animals, but these guys in particular love this one feeder I have because they can bob in and get their seed. Which brings up one more thing I want to talk about, which was brought up at the beginning of the presentation, this spring's Audubon Society's Bird-a-thon. I am actually leading a team this year, so I'm plugging it. It's a very unique team. You can find details. I will relink in the chat, but we normally are not open to the public here at the ranch, but we are opening for a bird-a-thon team. And the trick is you bird anywhere in Santa Clara County for 4 hours on May 6th. And then in the afternoon, you get to come up here and casually bird and have lunch. We're a pretty unique situation because we've done so much habitat restoration since we bought this place to get native grasses back, that we're up to 84 documented species of birds, most of which I've posted images on a website. I'm about to hit like 6,000 images of the stuff here. Most of it right outside my office. but you can come up, see it all, and help the Audubon Society at the same time. So look for those details. I'll post it in chat. And if you have questions, you can see me. I can link my email as well.
Wonderful.
And that's it.
Do you
Oh,
mind?
and the ranch is Purgatory Auto Works and Dinosaur Farm.
Perfect. Do you mind sending me as an email as well so I can circulate it to everybody who misses the chat?
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Great charts. All right. Steve.
Hi, Sri.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. So my wife and I were in Panama last month for a couple of weeks, and these are some photos from that trip.
All right.
So it's a Wattle Jacana. Yeah, so a few of these first few shots were taken, from some water birds. It's actually right in the Panama Canal. There's some nice little bays and waterways alongside the canal, at least the area we were, Gamboa. So it's kind of interesting because you're birding, beautiful pristine areas, and then you've got these giant container ships going by fairly close by. Okay, next. There's an American pygmy kingfisher. It's a tiny little kingfisher, just a few inches long. Next. And this is an adult male snail kite. Let's see, I think Leah showed an immature bird earlier from Mexico. And here's an adult male with a snail. Next. Yeah, and Jim Scarf showed a lineated woodpecker from Costa Rica. And here's a lineated from Panama. And the countries, as you may know, are very, very close to each other. So it's not surprising that similar species cross the border. Yep. Next. And a lesser violet ear. And these little guys, I guess they flare their little ear tufts when they get excited. So when another bird gets nearby and they start calling, they stick those little guys out. Pretty cute. Next. Okay, now looking at some more forest birds. There's a white ruff manakin. We were fortunate to see 5 species of manakin. I was only able to photograph 4 of them, but this is one. And usually they're in very dense, primary rainforest. You're shooting at 8,000, 10,000, 12,000 ISO. But this guy popped out for a little while, so I was pretty lucky. He had a decent shot. Next. And this is an orange collared manakin, very similar to a more commonly found golden collared manakin. Yeah, this guy, chasing him through forest for probably an hour, trying just to find an opening, and finally got a decent shot. Next. And had a brief view of this golden brown Chloriphonia. Had maybe 3 or 4 seconds with him, and he landed and then took off. So I feel fortunate to get this shot. Next. Barred Antshrike. This is the male. Next. And finally, a gartered trogon. Lovely bird.
Incredible.
And that's it.
Wow. Great shot, Steve. So did I cover everyone or did I miss someone? Okay, so almost at the end, and thank you, Steve, for allowing me to bump you towards the end then. So this is my shots. I've not been getting out too much actually, but things are looking up now for me in terms of my joint takes, and so this quarter I've been a little birding once in a while every Saturday. So here are all the shots from the Bay Area. I got into Sandy Bull just about, I would say, I just decided to park outside and then get into the park earlier before the park actually opened for traffic. And 5 minutes before the gates opened, this bald eagle came, swooped down a dead fish, and that was it. And then for the next 3 hours, we did not see it coming down. So I probably got really lucky that day. This is the male from the Milpitas school. Guys have probably seen and heard about the mating pair in Milpitas as well. This was something very interesting. Actually, I think the male came down probably for mating, and then the female was probably surprised, and really nice to get the shot. This is again in Sandy Wool, a shot that I've been actually looking for many years, I would say, and I never got it. This time you can see it's a cormorant with a fish and the pelican going after it. And just as juxtaposition, there's a cormorant in the front and a pelican in the back. So kind of like this shot, and also kind of don't like it because the bird in the front is not really in focus. But you can see the action here. Right? It looks like the pelican is actually going to gobble down the cormorant. So this year I actually set a goal for myself, especially to see a common merganser, which, believe it or not, I have not seen the male before. And I wanted the male in flight. And after a couple of attempts, and actually this was on January 1st this year, I was able to get this shot. This was in Point Reyes. We were almost towards the end of our photo shoot for looking for bobcats. And very beautiful red tail just perched in front of us and preening. It was really, really pretty. So I don't know about the feedback on this shot, but I love it. This is absolutely something that caught my eye. This was the black and white warbler on a bark of I think a pine tree, and the camouflage just looks stunning to me. So I thought I'll shoot and maybe ask for feedback on this shot. I absolutely love this. This is something that I wasn't trying, but I'm very happy with this shot as well. This is a black phoebe just dipping itself and coming out, catching, I think probably a gnat or probably an insect off the water. But the reflections and the wings actually made it very special. This is one of my favorites so far of the year for the reason that, as a shot, I love it, but also as a goal, I had not seen a blue-winged teal male in flight before, and I was really looking for them, and they really got very, very lucky with this. This was in Coyote Hills. As soon as I went there, sat down for a few minutes, this male was actually just started to take off and gave me this spectacular photo. Oh, mountain bluebird. This was a lifer bird for me. I missed it in Sierras when I went several years ago, but this was in Ravenswood, and you probably had heard about this, from a lot of eBirds and a lot of people actually looking for this one. Got it in several different poses, but always sitting, and got them on perches and things like that. But I wanted it with its wings. And I'm actually quite happy with this shot. This is the final one. I just wanted to show how spring is really pretty. We do get some amazing warblers around this season, right at this time of the year, and really got lucky with this yellow rumped, actually sitting on these cherry blossoms, and just a depiction of the season we are in, and really wanted to thank everyone for participating. We had spectacular number of photos, and as you saw, the images were just amazing. So thank you. And if you have a minute or two, I would just like to ask for a quick feedback. Do you like this? I think it's a little different, something that I wanted to ask people, because we do have like a really nice spring season, and then of course the summer season and so on. Is this something that we should continue into next year? A show like this in April. We do that in September. We do a bring your own photo show in September, which I really like. I've gotten some fantastic feedback on that. So I think we are going to continue. But should we have this in April with a limited? We say we shoot in April, like we did this year. We shoot in January to March. Bring your show, bring your photos. Photos can be anywhere from the world. Doesn't have to be Bay Area. Is this something that we would like to continue?
Well, by the turnout we had, I think it was a success.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And you could probably do it a couple times a year.
Yeah,
Also fun to see what everybody does. There's nice variety.
Yeah, and I think if you did it, you could probably even do it like 4 times a year, and you could even overlap when you have a scheduled speaker, because once the rush, not everybody's going to participate every time. So you may not be, you might not have 26 or so many, presenters each time. You might have just a smaller pocket, but you would really be able to build community then if you're doing it more often.
I like that. I like that concept, because I really think, when we used to do it in the past, when Steve led it in the past, one of the things I used to look forward to was meeting people in the library, right? I think, and sharing stories. And Zoom is effective. We do it at home, but we miss that interaction. You don't see the photographers out there, right? So I do want to get something like that in place as well. And then doing it more often in the year, I think is a great idea too.
And that's exactly it. Is if you don't have a huge number, you can set aside, even if you set aside 2 hours and you blow through it an hour, you could still have a half hour of socializing on Zoom, of just chit-chatting and talking about specific things, taking questions, that sort of thing.
We could do that too. We could do maybe a half an hour.
I always like these the members' nights. I think it gives you more variety of different people's photos. I would say that the time restriction of only using photos taken in the previous few months, I don't know if that's necessary. I think that for someone who maybe only ever shows their photos at these members' nights, by having that time restriction, maybe they're not able to show their best photos because they were taken earlier. So I guess I think doing more than one member night per year is a good idea, but I wouldn't necessarily limit it to a time frame.
Well, that's exactly it. If you have more member nights, eventually either the group will grow and you always have a lot, but that's probably not going to happen. Let's face it. And you'll probably have, if there's 4 opportunities a year, or even more, people won't feel like, oh, I need to do it every time.
Got it. And one thing is we can. I like what just Glenn said. Was trying to get more people out, and this winter was tough, right, because of all the rains. But typically people go out and they get to shoot in a few months. We don't do much with those shots, so I was trying to keep it a little. Seeing it as an exercise to go out more often, maybe do that. But it was just something we attempted. Maybe the next one, like September, when we have, it doesn't matter. You can actually take show pictures from any time of the year.
And
the nice thing about having it be, I mean, I thought it was a challenge to do. Oh, I can only do the ones January through March, and then. I listened to where some of the shots were taken, and I'm thinking, gosh, maybe I'll go to that place because I might see what the person saw. So I actually liked that it was time limited like that, but it wouldn't have to be every time.
Yeah, I like it, right? So September, again, once we come back from our summer break, typically show 10 pictures of from any place, any time.
But here's a question. Do we really need a summer break?
Great idea. Yeah, because typically we are off. Summer is usually slow because of vacations. People don't call in. And historically, I think the attendance actually has not been that great. That's probably why we have those 3 months off.
But now it's on Zoom.
We should try. Why not? Yeah.
I had another idea for photos. How about we just not have a time restraint and just do our favorite photos, like top 5 favorite photos of your own. And I would be able to elaborate more on those photos and why I think it's my favorite.
Yeah, I think for that
I'm birding almost every day, so I just quickly went through and just grabbed those, and that was that. But since then, I mean, today I saw the vermilion flycatcher this morning, and I would have posted that one because they're gorgeous.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think we could do one of two things as well, right? We can say less number of photos, but then we go a little more in details on those. Yeah, we could try a few things. Okay. I really like it. I like this enthusiasm too, by the way. It's really helpful. We do have a speaker for May, and you guys will really like like to hear him speak. But he's going to show some photographs from Sacramento, and that's Jerry Ting. He's a very well-known birder photographer from the Bay Area. Really great speaker. And then at that time, maybe we can actually talk about, do we want to schedule something for June as well? I don't have a speaker for June. I mean, June, July, August is typically we are off. But if you want to do one more members night and show 5 photographs from any time of the year, and I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, and make sure you take the temperature of everybody who's on the mailing list. So post this sort of thing to it and say, what do you guys think? Even do a poll if you want to gather it.
Like it, yeah.
I'll be gone in June. I'm gonna be in the Galapagos taking photos.
Be ready for September.
Yeah. Oh, I'll be in Indonesia all of September, I think. Diving, baby, diving.
I'll be in Galapagos in November, December.
Oh, beautiful.
Cannot
wait. It is getting a little late, but please email me and write to me. You have ideas, speakers who are willing. You have a set of photos you want to show us a full 1 hour length. Send me 10 photos and then tell me the story you want to talk about, and then we can chat. Excellent. Well, thank you, everyone.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Thank you. Really enjoyed it.
See you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Free. Night.
Bye.
Bye.
Join my birdathon team. Join it.
I will. I'm going to write.
I'm sending you the email now.
I'll donate.
It's free lunch. It's free lunch.
Oh,
and 270-degree views of the Bay Area.
Beautiful. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.